Well, happy Friday. Bishop on air. Thanks for hanging out. Just a couple of different segments this morning. We'll be taking a look at the latest case against Illinois' gun and magazine ban. We started the week with Tom DeVore, and we're going to end the week with Tom DeVore because he has filed a totally separate lawsuit with an interesting angle. So we'll delve into that with him here live in about 10 minutes or so. So stay tuned for that. But we've also got to take a look at some numbers that some listeners have provided in breaking down the Protect Illinois Communities Act registration numbers. So that's also coming up here. But how can we not at least acknowledge what's going on the migration front with the southern U.S. border and Texas and the federal government and the conflict and all of the different states that are backing Texas and the Republican presidential nominee, potentially Donald Trump, supporting Texas, pushing back against the federal government, and whether or not Texas can protect its own border with Mexico instead of having to rely on the federal government, who is seemingly just keeping the border wide open. This is going to be interesting to watch matriculate into the 2024 election. So clearly we'll be keeping an eye there. Because listen, I mean, Illinois is 1,000 plus miles away from the southern U.S. border, but we're being directly impacted by what's going on there. Especially when it comes to humanitarian issues and the ongoing taxpayer cost. So you've got that going on. And obviously it's going to dominate a lot of people's attention. Something that's going on here in Illinois this morning is the Illinois State Board of Elections. They're preparing to hear challenges against former President Donald Trump's petitions to get on the March 19th ballot. They're also going to hear a challenge to incumbent President Joe Biden's access to the March 19th ballot. So if you want to watch that live, those arguments, head over to thecentersquare.com/Illinois. Again, thecentersquare.com/Illinois. And you'll be able to watch live as you'll see the Illinois State Board of Elections will be hearing ballot petition challenges. So again, just go to thecentersquare.com/Illinois, and you'll be able to follow along with what's going on there. And that'll be about 9 o'clock when that goes live. Also, just check out thecentersquare.com in general, where you can see a whole bunch of Illinois news. But you can also check out what's going on nationally, or you can even find maybe you lived in a previous state and you want to catch up with what's going on there. So clearly there's a lot of just incredible things going on. But check out thecentersquare.com. Okay, stay tuned. We will delve into some numbers from a couple of different listeners that have crunched the latest registration data, and we'll take a look at that next here with Bishop on Air. All right, stay tuned. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Happy Friday. Quick breather, and we'll be back. Illinois State Police updating those gun registration numbers yet again. Welcome back, Bishop on Air. It's right here with X, Facebook, YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm Greg Bishop, hanging out with you each and every weekday morning. Happy Friday. So Illinois State Police have updated the latest gun ban registration numbers. And you can clearly see on their website they've got the numbers for when the 3-month window is open to register, October 1st through the 23rd, or October 1st through December 31st of 2023. And the number of registrations, you had about 30,000 individuals register, 112,000 items, 68,900 were firearms. The rest were a combination of accessories and a variety of other types of ammunition like 50 caliber BMG. But state police have been updating the latest registration numbers after the January 1st deadline because they said they're going to keep the registration open. And even Governor J.B. Pritzker saying, hey, now that the rules are finalized, they're going to keep those numbers open. So just now updated for January 1st through January 23rd, the number of individuals completing an affidavit on top of the 30,000, it's now 6,000. So an additional 6,000 people in the first 3 weeks of January have registered a total of 11,513 firearms. So the latest numbers are in from Illinois State Police showing that more people registering. Now, granted, the previous update had about 5,900. This update has 6,100. So you're talking, maybe 300 additional people for over the week? Okay, who are those people? Are those people who just moved to Illinois? Are those people who just said, oh, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to register my firearms. Why not? So clearly, you've got some interesting numbers there. So be sure to check that out at the Illinois State Police website. But I did have a couple of listeners who shared with me some of the kind of data breakouts that they did on the Protect Illinois Communities Act registration numbers. And I did want to show you this. It's kind of fascinating. And all the numbers that they broke down. Two different listeners, I believe Stan and Chris. One of them shared these numbers, taking the individual county breakout and the total number of affidavits and the total number of individuals, comparing that to the total number of FOID cards in those counties. And just looking at the total percentage of registration here, and it doesn't really look like much of any are over 1.5. Everything seems to be 1.69 for DuPage County. As far as the percentage of FOID card holders that are registering firearms, you've got clean 1% in Hancock County. So 50 individuals of 5,007 FOID card holders registering firearms. You've got it really kind of just looks like the average. 1.76% in Lake County, about 2,000 of the 112,000 FOID card holders in Lake County registering. So these are interesting numbers, and across the board, it shows nothing over 2%. However, in St. Clair County, I wonder what's going on there. St. Clair County, 6.4%, according to these numbers that were crunched by a listener. So about 3,800 of the 60,000 in St. Clair County. That's interesting. But that's really the major outlier. Everything else is within the range of 0.5% to 1.5%. So I appreciate the breakdown on that. And somebody else sent another spreadsheet unpacking some more of these numbers. And in particular, the number of endorsement affidavits per individual in each county. And this one coming from another listener showing that Crawford County had the... the most affidavits per individual at close to seven filings per individual in Crawford County. Jasper County, 6.6%. Douglas County, 6.6% per individual. Douglas County, 5.7 registrations per individual that did register. Henry County, 5.5 per individual, and then it goes on down from there. The lowest number of the 102 counties, let's see here, Scott County, 1.8 per individual filed some kind of banned item with Illinois State Police. So these are really fascinating charts, and just a way to play with some of the numbers. The total average across the state, though, is 3.8 items per individual. So fun with numbers, I guess, is one way you could put it. Bottom line, though, is it's clear that the total number of registrations across the states, any way you cut it, if it's just comparing the FOID card numbers to the total number of registrants, now it's 1.5% of the total FOID card holders who've registered. But if you extrapolate other data of, surveys of gun owners, how many people own AR-15s, for instance, and then you might start getting closer to maybe 4%, 5%, 8%, either way. It is 90+% of people who are not complying with the registration, even after that deadline of January 1st, seems to have just been opened up, and anybody can register really at any time now, I guess, because the state even said that they can't enforce whether or not somebody registers. They can only enforce whether or not you're caught with a firearm that's not registered, but just merely the act of not registering is not an enforceable offense, according to the state's latest filings in federal court. So fun with numbers on this Friday. Wanted to share that with you. Coming up, stay tuned. We'll talk with Attorney Thomas DeVore about his latest filing, a novel approach. So we'll hear from him about that. Stay tuned. It's Here with Bishop on Air. Follow along, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you on the other side here. Well, we started the week with Attorney Tom DeVore, and we're going to end the week with Attorney Tom DeVore. Why? Because he filed a new lawsuit in state court against the state's gun ban and taking an interesting approach here, especially when it comes to recognition of these special classes that the law has carved out. So appreciate you taking the time with us this morning, Tom. Let's go ahead and get on into it. This is kind of fascinating. A novel approach you're taking here because, well, we always hear this thing of citizen's arrest. What does that mean? And what are you asking the courts to do for your client in this case in Effingham County?
Hey, can you tell me what Bond County's percentage was before I answer your question?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up really quick.
All right, pull that up to get a chance while I'm talking.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, it's not really a novel approach, Greg. It's something that I've known for some time. When you actually break down these statutes in piece and really analyze them intellectually, you can find this more often than people would suspect. It just goes untalked about because it's usually not as egregious of a law that we're dealing with on this one. But our legislature in Illinois, given they passed this stuff in 2 days, nobody reads this stuff. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And so they put an exempt class in this law expressly. It's not ambiguous. It's not something that you have to try to, well, did they mean it? Did they not mean it? And if people go and read, it says that any peace officer is defined under Section 2-13 of the Criminal Code is exempt. So that means then, well, who is a peace officer is defined in Section 2-3 of the Criminal Code, okay? And if you go read the statute, it says in there, it says a law enforcement officer who has, by his public office, is given, certain powers, including the power to arrest people. Or, it says or, and it's conjunctive, Greg. It says, or someone who by statute has been given powers similar to a law enforcement officer. So the question is, just from reading the statute, is, okay, a citizen under the Illinois Private Citizens Arrest Statute has by statute been given powers of arrest fundamentally identical to, not just similar to, fundamentally identical to a law enforcement officer. So then you say, okay, that's what the statute says. Then go to the case law. And there's case law in Illinois that goes back a long time dealing with people who have been arrested and whether or not those arrests were valid. And there's a ton of case law that typically happens when you have a cop, a law enforcement officer, who is not within his jurisdiction. He's outside of his jurisdiction. So let's say he's a Cook County sheriff and he's in Bond County, Illinois, where I'm at, and he arrests somebody. He has no lawful authority as a law enforcement officer to arrest somebody in Bond County, but those arrests have always been upheld under the private citizens arrest statute. And our courts have said, look, doesn't matter if you're a cop or not a cop, you have the power to arrest, which is fundamentally the same as a citizen of this state as a law enforcement officer. So the case law is unequivocal in this regard. And so them drafting this law and drafting it the way they did, they've exempt out anybody who by definition is a peace officer, which is any citizen. So, they just didn't know what the hell they were doing. So be it. But they drafted the law, and I'm going to interpret the law the way it was drafted and the way it's been interpreted by the courts, and they just have to live with it.
We're talking with Attorney Thomas DeVore, and just to let you know, we've got these numbers pulled back up here. Bond County, 2.6 items per individual who registered in Bond County.
What's the percentage of registry?
The percentage of those who registered in Bond County, of the 5,085 FOID card holders, only 52 registered. So that's 1%, essentially.
Okay.
So 1% of FOID card holders registered firearms in Bond County. I take it that's
about how many Democrats we got in Bond County, probably.
Well, it'd be interesting to do that comparison, quite frankly.
Well, you said Fayette County. What's interesting about Fayette County is, again, this is a political thing. You and I both know that. It's, Fayette County is a highly Democratic county in our area. So when you gave me those numbers, it doesn't surprise me because of the political makeup of the county. That's okay.
Well, in Fayette County, it says it's only it's 0.5%. Yeah.
Yeah, Fayette's more conservative than Bond.
That's interesting. All right. So again, we're talking with Tom DeVore. Of course, if you follow along with me on what I publish at thecentersquare.com, you can see a copy of this lawsuit that we're talking about that DeVore filed on behalf of Accuracy Firearms, and also a plaintiff there. Is it Halsty, or how do you pronounce his last name? Holsty. Okay, just to make sure. So, I mean, again, you're essentially saying you want the court to find your client as a peace officer, so that he can then go and take part and consummate a voluntary exchange of money for firearms from Accuracy Firearms, so that they can do that without the threat of being charged criminally or civilly.
Absolutely. And it's a perfect declaratory judgment action. And again, keep in mind, Greg, I didn't draft the law. Legislature drafted the law. It's not ambiguous, right? It is clear on its face. If you are a peace officer, you are exempt. Then the question becomes, who's a peace officer? The statute's clear that citizens are peace officers because they have arrest powers. It's crucial. They have arrest powers similar to a law enforcement officer. And since they have arrest powers similar to a law enforcement officer, they are, under the law of the state of Illinois, a peace officer. By definition. They're exempt. I don't know what the state's going to do with that, but there's no way to argue it.
I remember at the beginning of this conversation when they were talking about the special classes being carved out, there were some suggesting, just go to your sheriff and get deputized. A sheriff locally elected can deputize individuals, and bada bing, bada boom. Maybe a sheriff says, hey, all FOID card holders in the county are hereby deputized. I mean, would that also be kind of the same type of characterization here that could have people be in an exempt class?
It's similar to what you're talking about, Greg, but you have to, what I would say to you is, one, the Illinois Private Citizens Arrest Statute, which is a specific law in Illinois, fundamentally accomplishes the same task as being deputized by your sheriff, because the Illinois legislature by statute has already conferred those powers on citizens. For example, Greg, if you're driving down the road and somebody's recklessly driving, swerving all over the road, doing all these things in front of you, you can stop them and arrest them, and you are legally within your right to do so. If you see a battery going on in the street, if you see somebody shoplifting, if you see any of these crimes being committed, you as a citizen of the state can arrest that person. place them under arrest and charge them with a crime, and it's legal. And for those reasons, we are peace officers as defined in Illinois law. So yeah, the deputizing is really moot and unnecessary.
Again, having a judge declare this for your client, what would that mean for everybody else, though? I mean, this is just one person, one of your clients. What would this mean for anybody else out there that still feels that their rights are being infringed?
I think that they can go make the same argument, right? I mean, the law, if we get a ruling, and again, I don't know how it doesn't happen. I mean, courts are interesting places, Greg. I've talked to 50 of my lawyer buddies about this issue, and they all, tell me I read statutes too much, but they all said, you're right. There's no way around it. But that's only one judge in one county. It's not binding precedent across the state, right?
Right.
Like some would like to suggest, but we'll see what the Attorney General and the Brandon Kelly, Director Kelly want to do with it. They want to take it on up the next level. Are they going to run back and do another gut and replace and try to pull peace officer out of the statute? I devil dog dare them to start playing with the statute, because it just opens people's eyes more to the fact that, their gut and replace of this shell bill was what caused these problems. They passed a law and they put an exception in the law that really covers every law-abiding citizen in the state of Illinois that's got a FOID card.
And then they also wrote the law to essentially allow for Illinois State Police every October 1st to change up the list of banned firearms and other rules. So,
and so you're aware too, and your listeners are aware. We took our other case up on appeal, as you know. But I got up at 4:00 this morning. I'm drafting another equal protection case, and I'm taking the Calkins standard that the Illinois Supreme Court laid down, and I'm going to use it against the state, and I'm going to file another equal protection claim too, on top of the one that we've already got pending. It's going to still keep going. But, while we're waiting for that to work its way through the appellate court, I'm filing another equal protection claim too, and I'm going to pin them down using the Calkins standard against them. You'll find that interesting once I get it done.
So we'll obviously be talking with Tom again, maybe Monday. I don't know. We'll
it'll be a few weeks.
All right, sounds good. Tom DeVore, thank you so much for taking time with us this morning, of course, and we'll be tracking this. As far as this case, the most recent one about you trying to get your client to be declared a peace officer by the court, when is there going to be a hearing? Is there any sense of a timeline yet?
Yeah, it'll happen faster than normal, so I'm hoping within a month we'll have a hearing on that.
All right, so we'll definitely see what happens there. Tom DeVore, greatly appreciated. Be safe and safe travels, all right?
Take care. See you, Greg.
It is Bishop on Air. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out with me each and every weekday morning. Happy Friday. I got to get out of here and head over to my full-time gig, so I appreciate you guys being here. And don't forget, head over to thecentersquare.com/Illinois, because later on today, you'll be able to watch live the arguments being made in petition challenges against President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. You've got people going after Donald Trump in Illinois, trying to knock him off the primary ballot, alleging that he is an insurrectionist using the 14th Amendment. Meanwhile, you got a couple of challenges against Biden. One, claiming 14th Amendment issues. I think about the border. We'll hear more about that later on this morning. But also a second one. Apparently, Biden didn't use an in Illinois notary on his petitions. And state law apparently says, yeah, it's supposed to be an in Illinois notary. All right. So it'll be fun to watch how that plays out. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. Happy, good weekend. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thank you so much. I got to get out of here. I know, a short show, 2 segments. But, hey, it is what it is. Just deal with it. I'm going to get my Trump hands back and forth. You guys ever seen that video of Trump in the accordion? Just search whatever video site, Trump and accordion. Somebody superimposed an accordion in between Trump's hands while he's giving speeches. It's masterful. It's just, wow. All right, I'm out of here. Happy weekend. We'll see you soon.